Do you ever feel like life is going too well? You've got great friends, a good routine, a chill and a comfortable lifestyle, but then you say, F that, I'm going to move to South Korea. No? Is it just me? Well, I did just that, and I discovered something truly important about myself. I have anxiety. I have been planning to go on an exchange semester abroad for a long time. I really wanted to get out of my comfort zone as much as possible, so I aimed for a country as different from the rest of Europe as possible. Better yet, a country I knew nothing about, South Korea. Sure, I've heard about K-pop and watched Squid Game, but that is as far as my knowledge about South Korea goes. Perhaps this lack of knowledge gave me blind courage and made me excited to discover a completely different culture. But it all started to get real about 4 months ago when I finally got accepted at Seoul National University. After a burst of dopamine and enthusiasm that lasted for 2 weeks, it suddenly hit me. There is a lot of shit I have to do. I had to leave my job, move out of my lovely studio apartment, say goodbye to all my friends before I leave Denmark, get a visa, find housing in Korea. I felt overwhelmed. But I felt overwhelmed before in my life. Nothing some good sleep and a little bit of planning can solve. It would pass soon enough. Except it didn't. This weird feeling, this fear, a constant state of uneasiness persisted for days until I realized, for the first time in my life, I have anxiety. Anxiety is a bitch. It makes me feel like I have butterflies in my stomach. It becomes harder to breathe as I continue to worry about this and that. It feels like I'm trapped and there's nothing I can do to shake this feeling off. And believe me, I tried. 10 minutes of meditation would normally ease all my worries and would make me realize that things aren't as big of a deal as we often make them appear. So I sit down, close my eyes, and focus on my breathing for 10 minutes while listening to a soundtrack of heavy rainfall. I then open my eyes ready to embrace the calmness that has surrounded me. Nope. I still feel anxious. I then tried talking about it with my friends, but it seems like friends are useless, because they can't just magically make my anxiety go away. So talking to friends, planning and meditation have failed me. Is there something else I can do? Something bigger than that? Some sort of life-changing mindset? But of course, Stoicism. As the Stoics put it, there are things one can control, like their emotions, perception of the outside world, and things that are outside our sphere of influence. Luckily for me, anxiety seems to be coming from inside my mind, so it is totally under my control. If that is the case, can't I just stop feeling anxious? I know it sounds crazy, but it actually worked. I've managed to defeat this new opponent, which doesn't seem to have been that big of a foe in the first place. For the next few weeks, I complete all my tasks, say goodbye to my friends and to my comfortable life, and I go on a little adventure around Central Europe in the middle of July. My mind is very occupied during the trip, thinking about what weird museum I should visit next and how to convince Kalin not to dive into every single tourist trap. Life's good. I go back home to Moldova, planning to spend all of August there. I'll have a lot of free time, so I'll manage to go out with my high school friends, make several videos, learn Korean in 1 month, and be as productive as I've ever been. Only a few days pass, and I get a surprise visit from an old friend. Anxiety. Well, I say friend, by this time I think I've made it clear. I don't really like that guy. Or girl. I don't like them. I let it fool around for a few days, but it doesn't want to leave. Instead, this feeling starts to intensify more and more as I get closer to my departure date. Enough is enough. It is time I just stop feeling anxious, since it is coming from inside my mind, so it is totally under my control, you know the drill. Something is wrong though. It doesn't work. No matter how rational I try to be about it, I can't seem to be able to stop feeling uneasy, to worry more and more. All I can think about is my move and everything that can go wrong. All my productive plans fall apart as I start binge-watching The Office and go out drinking with my friends on a daily basis, trying to just take my mind away from any thoughts regarding my leave for Korea. Even then, I start to regularly get anxiety attacks that cut my breath and make me feel a deep uneasiness and irrational worry for about half an hour until I eventually calm down a bit. I think I'm f***ed. I've tried everything, but there's no way I can get over this. There's nothing left to do but endure this for a few more days until I finally get to Korea. For my last week, I am awfully quiet when meeting with relatives and friends, and my mind is constantly preoccupied with worries about my flight and everything that can go wrong once I arrive in Korea. The feeling of uneasiness doesn't go away no matter what, and my anxiety attacks seem to hit more and more often. At this point, the only thing I could do to somewhat calm myself down was listen to some hip-hop. Strangely, listening to Lil Wayne singing how he's famous eases my deep worries just enough so I can endure them. My last day in Moldova is the worst. I still try to complete all the pre-departure tasks on my to-do list, but I feel miserable throughout the whole day and I can't wait to just fly and get it over with as soon as possible. Is feeling this shit even going to be worth it in the end? Finally, I got to the airport, but my long trip was not a fun one by a long shot. At several checkpoints I had issues with my visa, and every time I had to wait for some awfully long period of time, worrying if I'll make it through, and what if I don't, and I'm sent back home. Anxiety, my good old friend, held my hand tightly throughout the whole trip. It was only when I crossed the last checkpoint, the border control in South Korea, that I felt like a huge weight has been lifted off my chest, and anxiety decided to let go of me and finally mind their own business. So I guess I'm here now, in the land of K-pop, kimchi and rice. It was a bit hard for me to adjust during the first few days, as I still had to get different items for my house, meet people, start university, and get accustomed to living in such a huge and populated city like Seoul. I still worried from time to time, but without any intense anxiety anymore, I managed to tackle these problems one by one. I'm happy I don't have to struggle with anxiety anymore, and I can fully enjoy my stay here. I'm very excited to discover South Korea as much as possible, and also to create a ton of content, because this country has a lot to offer. From the breathtaking mountains surrounding Seoul, to the amazing food, exciting nightlife, chaotic architecture with neon signs and colorful temples in the middle of a futuristic city with skyscrapers. I'll make sure to make it worth all the trouble. But when it comes to anxiety, I still never managed to find a way to get rid of it. And while it might be gone for now, I feel like this newly discovered, formidable foe will pay me some more visits throughout my life. I'm sorry if you're hoping you'd learn of some miracle solution to overcoming anxiety in this video, because I don't really have any good tips yet. But I am an expert on how to waste your life in the most efficient manner, so if you're interested in that, make sure to watch this video next. Until next time, respect yourself.